to me to touch our lives as families through biblical devotion. Our topic for tonight is brotherly relationship, and we are going to see what God says about our relationships from the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verses number 35 through 46. And I'll be happy to read with you. So join me as we read the Bible together. The Bible says, if your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you shall support him as though he were a stranger and a sojourner, and he shall live with you. Take no interest from him of profit, but fear your God, that your brother may live besides you. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor give him your food for profit. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and gave you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. If your brother becomes poor besides you and sells himself to you, you shall not make him serve as a slave. He shall be with you as a hired worker and as a sojourner. He shall serve with you until the year of the Jubilee. Then he shall go out from you, he and his children with him, and go back to his own clan and return to the possession of his fathers. For they are my servant, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as slaves. You shall not rule over him ruthlessly, but shall fear your God. As for your male and female slaves, whom you bought among the strangers, as for you may also buy from among the strangers who sojourn with you, and their clans that are with you, who have been born in your land, and they may be your property. You may bequeath them to your sons after you inherit as a possession forever. You may make slaves of them, but over your brothers, the people of Israel, you shall not rule one over another ruthlessly. I want to go through this text together with you, and I want us to look at the Bible, what the Bible says about our families. The Bible talks about the nation of Israel when they came from the land of slavery and what God instructed them through Moses. Leviticus is one of the 5 books that Moses gave to the nation of Israel that is referred to as Pentateuch, or the 5 books of law. And in this book, which is more priestly, God was speaking to the nation of Israel, and he was giving instructions to them. One thing that I see in this text is that God wanted the nation of Israel, or the Israelites, to treat each other as brothers, as siblings, as people who love one another. And then God wanted Israelites to treat one another as brothers. They were supposed to show love and care for one another. The kind of love that God expected to see among the children of Israel is filial love, where they have burden and love for each other. God did not expect them to mistreat one another, and he did not expect an Israelite to take advantage of the other Israelite, the way we do in our families today. Because the majority of our people, when God blesses you with the resources, you rule over your brothers. You take all that belongs to them, and even taking away their dignity. But God did not expect and believe a Christian to treat his brother or sister in such manner, because God values the family relationship. And that's why, as we discuss in this devotion tonight, we need to have a heart and touch our lives in a manner that will transform our relationships in the family. Because unless we change our attitude towards one another, and we see value in the members of our families, then we don't have any relationship with God. For the Bible says that if man cannot love the fellow man that he can see with his own eyes, how can he claim to love God? If you cannot love a person who is closer to you, who is related to you by blood, then how much will you love someone who comes from other families? So it is important as a Christian and even as a person to reflect on your life and see how you treat other people in your family. Also, this evening we will see what the Bible says about our brothers. Number one, if they become poor, we should treat them the way we treat foreigners, give them food and clothe them. This means that if a foreigner comes to your house, you provide accommodation for them, you give food, and also if they have come without clothes, you provide clothing for warmth. And this is what God expects of us if one of our brother is poor. The Bible says if he becomes poor, it does not mean that he was born poor, but his circumstances may force him to become poor. And what we normally do in our society today is when your brother or your sister is struggling because of the challenges of life, what we normally do is to take advantage over them. We take even the little hope that they hand. Sometimes you may find your brother is having a sick wife or a sick child, and they are struggling to raise money for the hospital. When they borrow you money and you cannot lend them money, but what you do is to check on what they have. If they have only one cow, you take it. If they have a small portion of property, you take it for yourself so that you can give them money. So when they get healed, they have nowhere to get their own resources. They cannot feed themselves. They cannot take care of themselves. They become homeless because the brother who is supposed to help has taken advantage over them. And then God says, it is an abomination for you to take advantage of a member of your family. But mostly, we rejoice in the sufferings of others in our families. And we need to be very careful, because when you do that, you are not different from an enemy who invades your brother. You are not different from a sickness that attacks them. You are like a plague in that family. So you should be careful, because God will not let you go if you do such kind of a thing. When you are thinking about your relationships in the family, you need to compare your character, your behavior, how you relate to one another with what the Bible says should happen. Number two, don't lend them money and they take interest. Deuteronomy 23:19 also states the same. God put emphasis on this because sometimes your brother or your sister, your neighbor, someone close to you comes and asks for help. They ask you to lend them maybe 5,000, 10,000. But what you do, you say, my money cannot stay with you for a long time. You take their land and you rent their land so that you can benefit. And that leaves them with no source of income or source of their food. And then, or sometimes you tell them, I'll lend you money now, the 10,000 you need, but after 6 months you return and pay this money to me with the interest, maybe as 13,000 or 14,000 or even 15,000. But the Bible says, and it's very clear, that we should not lend our brothers money for interest. It is wickedness, because you're exploiting someone whom you are supposed to support. The Bible says, even in the New Testament, the book of Timothy, that is someone who does not take care of his own people is worse than an unbeliever. And therefore, if you are Christian, there are some even Christian leaders, some pastors, some bishops, that have taken advantage of their siblings, and they have taken all the inheritance. They have taken the best portions of land from their father. They have even bought the family land which should have been helpful to their poor brothers. They have taken it for themselves. The Bible says, don't lend your brother money for interest. And the number three, don't allow them to work for you for free. And this is a challenge we have. And I want to challenge all of you that are watching this devotion tonight. I've seen in several cases where we like keeping our brothers, our nephews, our nieces in our homes to work for us for free because their fathers and their mothers are poor. We exploit them. They work for us in our homes, in our houses. We make them house helps. We make them to be farm workers. And they are doing this without a salary because we believe we are providing food for them, or probably we paid hospital bill for their father or something related to that. They are looking for a shelter. So instead of providing shelter and paying them for the work they have done, we say that we have given more than enough, so they should also give something back. And that's how we exploit them. But it is unbiblical, it is sinful, it is wickedness to take the labor of your family member for free. You are supposed to pay them. It is not worthy taking advantage of someone who is weak and someone who depends on you. And that's why we need to be very careful in our families. Some of us may not see heaven, and the judgment will be heavy because of what we have done to our own family members. We need to be watchful. We need to be Christians and true Christians, where we show love and we show kindness to those who deserve kindness. We need to take care of our own family members and protect them against exploitation, encourage them to work and have their own income. The Bible says, if your brother sells himself, or an Israelite sells himself to you as a slave, don't allow him to work for you as a slave. Let them work for you under salary, so that when they go back after the year of Jubilee, they'll have their own resources that they can go back to their clan. If you are keeping your nephew in your house working for you for free, you are keeping your niece in your house working for you for free, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, they are growing their adults. They have nothing, they have no capital to begin their own life. And you say you are Christian, you are deceiving yourself. God will not let you go scot-free. There will be judgment. We need to reason it out as Christians. Fathers that are in our homes that are watching this, look at who is working for you. Are they earning? And you should not pay them something that is not reasonable. Pay them salary equal to what you pay other people that work for you. It is not health. It is not biblical. It is against Christian values for you to allow a member of your family to work for you for lesser pay or for nothing. I think we need to think about this. It is an abomination to allow your brothers to work for you as a slave. And the last thing we see in this text, don't rule over them ruthlessly, but fear your God. Sometimes we mistreat people from our families because we are more stronger than them. We take advantage of our economic power because we have money, we have positions in the government, we are influential in the marketplace, and therefore we treat them like slaves. We are ruthless. We care less about their emotions. We don't care about their feelings. We don't care about their spiritual being. When they live in our houses, we don't allow them to enjoy the luxury of that house like any other member of the family. We don't even share the dining table with them. They eat in the kitchen, or they have to eat in the room where they stay. They are not allowed even to interact freely with the cousins in the house. That is evil. And Bible says, don't treat them like slaves. Don't treat them with rigor, but always treat them with love. They deserve to be loved. Nobody wants to be poor, but we find ourselves in a state of poverty. That does not make us lesser persons. It doesn't make us lesser members of the family. The way you cannot treat your son as a slave, neither can you treat your daughter as a slave. Why do you treat your nephew, your niece, or your cousin as a slave? You should treat them with kindness and love. As a Christian, you should be a role model. Let your house be a haven of hope where people who are hopeless can run and have peace. A place where they can say, my uncle will help me. My aunt will listen to me. My cousin will listen to me. Whoever member of that family, they will feel they are part of that family and they enjoy the love. I want to pray with you as you reflect on your life and check your relationship with the members of your family. Do you love them? Do you care about their lives? Do you care about their feelings? Do you care what they feel when you arrogantly talk to them, when you insult them, and when